we'll let your video play here through once so you can see what we're working with. All right, take that back. We're just going to go piece for piece with this. Watch how much your body... See what your body just did there? Start here, and before your leg even comes off the ground. All right, so again, when we lift our leg up, the only thing that needs to move is this knee coming up on an angle. Up on an angle. We don't need to turn our body to do that. Okay? Because now when you lift that leg on an angle, it's so much of an angle that we're no longer leading with our hip. Our hip is right here. You're now leading with your butt. Okay? Excuse me. And the reason that you turn into leading with your butt is because you start curling your shoulders and your waist, your hips, to get this leg up. And now your belt buckle and your shoulders are facing this way. So when you raise your leg up to this high of an angle, if these shoulders were still square and these hips were still square, this knee would be exactly where it needs to be. But because we curl, 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 the leg is going to continue to curl backwards instead of just raising up on an angle on its own. Okay, so that's the first thing. Not rolling the hips and shoulders around and back to help you get that leg up. We got the strength and a good weight back set position to be able to just simply lift that up and be nice and strong and balanced. So now because everything is overly rotated, it now has to rotate back around way more than it would have to if we didn't do that curling. So now we can see we're leading with the butt cheek. We're leading with the butt cheek. Now we're leading with the hip. But we've had to come out of such a big curl that once we start rotating, this front side leg is going to take over. Why? Because it has to get itself from being way back here into its foot strike out here. So at a certain point, once it gets open, it's not going to be able to stop from continuing to open, and now that front leg is pulling your weight forward, pulling your weight forward, pulling your weight forward. And we know it's pulling your weight forward because if we take it back and watch this back leg, there's nothing in this back leg that's rotating or driving away from that rubber. See how nothing's happening there? It's just folding over. Knees just folding over. Back foot, heel is just coming off the ground, coming off the ground, coming off the ground. Okay, so we are using zero lower body to help accelerate this upper body. Okay, so if we want to be able to have time to use this back leg to drive our entire body down the mound and rotate our entire backside, hip, knee, and foot, we need to actually do something with this leg instead of it just falling forward, falling forward, falling forward. Okay, that's also, while we're talking about this back foot, let's watch this back heel. What happens to it when you lift this leg and start curling your body back? Watch this heel and its inability to stay in the ground. So here comes the leg up. You twist so much around that watch what your heel does. Boom. See your heel's moving? So now we're straight. according to your foot here. Straight's this way now. Your hips are curled this way, so that means that's what the lower body thinks is straight, is out here. But we know with this line right here, that's straight. And you started straight here, but because we curled everything so much, your back foot can't withstand it, and it has to give out. So now our angles have changed. Angles was one way here, and now as we actually start going, angles are different. So again, all because of those hips rolling and those shoulders rolling just to help that leg come up. Messes with his backside's ability to stay strong and firm, and then also not having the time for it to fire. Okay, because once his foot hits the ground, whatever energy this back side driving to the plate and rotating gets sent up to the upper body, so that the upper body has more energy to go to the target and rotate the throw. But we can see this lower body has done very little of anything. Look at your belt. Your belt's here, and then the only amount it rotates is that. Oops, sorry, I went too far. That much. Your foot's in the ground. From there to there. From there to there. That's the only rotation your lower body's doing on its own. So because that lower body has not done anything in terms of creating rotational power, your upper body has no power getting sent up. So now if it has no power getting sent up, it's not going to be able to rotate as fast as it possibly could. On top of that, shoulders rotating now all by themselves have to also now rotate this hip, this knee, this foot, and drive this side through still. So if the lower half's not providing the upper half with extra power, and now the regular power we have in our shoulders has to pull and drag all of this weight, we're not going to be able to rotate nearly as fast anymore. We're going to have to rotate slower. It's going to be harder for us to throw, and we're going to be putting more stress through here and through here just to throw the baseball. So now we watch, and your hand never lays back. Your arm never lays back. It's just dragging the whole time through. And it's doing that because the only way you can rotate now to create power is by having this front shoulder open up. And now this shoulder just got dragged forward. When that opened up, this dragged forward. And now that this is dragged forward, it's got nothing to help accelerate it out, because you can't keep going out to keep having this go forward. It's just going to keep popping around. So now the arm has to just push itself, push itself, push itself. And when we push, we have very, very, very little power. We don't have the ability to have consistent command. And the amount of stress on our arm is so much that your arm is going to constantly be hurting after days that you throw a lot or you pitch on the mound for a significant amount of time. So let's pull up some guys here to explain all of these things with guys that do it the right way. Okay. Let's start with, let me get a good quality one here. Let's go with here. And let's get to the side. Okay. Okay, so leg comes up on an angle. Notice that nothing is twisting while he's doing this. It's just leg up, leg up. Lead with the hip. And now watch these legs here, how they rotate. Rotate. So when he gets his foot in the ground, look where this belt buckle's at. Look how much rotation these hips are doing. Wham. 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 We get this a little smaller here. Get you over here. And we'll back you up to foot strike. Right there. That's foot strike. Here's you. And this. Look at these differences here. Okay. We can tell that this leg is bending inwards and then foot's going outwards. We got everything in line. Everything straight to the target. Your leg's bending this way inwards instead of being out. Straight out versus in. Belt buckle to the target. Belt buckle at the camera. Back knee is facing the ground. Your back knee is over this way. Back foot driven away from the rubber and rotated. Oops. Versus heel off the ground, toe on the rubber, nothing driven, nothing rotated. You don't get into this position here until we get to here. Now, this foot looks a little bit more like this. Now your belt buckle is to the target, but look how much your upper body had to rotate to get there. So now he's got all of this power to throw the ball. All of that going to the target. Look how much that arm's laying back. Bam. Versus the power that you have at this point is this. Most of your arm lays back is that much, and look how high it is at this point. The more your arm lays back, the more it can come through. That's power. That's whippiness. That's how the arm wants to work and stay smooth and not have any stress going through it, or as little stress as possible, rather. Boom. Boom. It's all because he's driving the back hips, and the shoulders don't have to work harder because they're not having to pull this entire backside through. Notice how every time your shoulder rotates, your lower body is rotating with it. That's because that upper body is rotating it, instead of that lower body already being rotated here, and your upper body is still here. Like this. Lower body rotates, upper body doesn't. Lower body rotates, upper body doesn't. Okay. Let's take someone younger than even that. That kid was 16 right there. We'll take it even younger than that and go with all right, let's watch this right here. All right, this is just a little guy, 10 years old. Just watch how his lower body works.
That once.
Boom. Watch everything in the lower body drive and rotate. Drive. See him driving through that toe. Drive, and he's still gaining ground. Boom, foot's in the ground. Look, that belt buckles to the target. Leg nice and straight. Fully rotated, okay? We get this a little smaller. Oh, I got out of the other one. Let me go back and get get him to foot strike. All right. This and this right here. Okay. Pretty similar things here with these two guys, right? Gloves halfway, 3/4 finished. Arms loaded up, cocked up, ready to go. Look at these lower halves. Driven and rotated. Front side firm and straight to the target. So then he has all of this. Oh, come on. Why is it not fast forwarding for me? Oops. It's not going. Anyways, he has all of that to go. We got to use that lower body. Let's find one more example for you with one of the easiest guys to see it on because he's one of the best to do it, and that's why he throws as hard as he does. I'll go with Mr. Aroldis Chapman here. Okay, from this point here, everything still has not rotated. But let's watch what the knees do. Both knees we're watching here. Boom. Foot strike. Watch these knees. Wham. Look at them rotate. 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 Let's watch the back foot now. Okay? The whole foot's still on the rubber. Your foot comes off the rubber pretty quickly and early. Okay? Your heel's off the rubber here, and it's not driving. There's no drive. You get to there. You get to Chapman. Watch what his back foot is doing. Driving into foot strike. Driving. Driving. Driving and rotating. Versus yours, which is just going to the toes. Going to the toes. No rotation. Going to the toes. No drive. Okay. He gets into foot strike right here. Belt buckle to the target. Front leg lined up. Toes to the target. Back foot driven and rotated. Kneecap facing the ground here. Back hip, front hip come through. Upper half is still back. So that way all this rotation and all of this drive to the target the lower body just did gets sent up now to the upper half to have the upper half continue to go to the target and to rotate with more power than it could on its own. And then it continues to rotate all the way through. All right? Because we're not using this back leg at all to create any rotational power with the lower half or no drive with the lower half down the mound, when you go to throw and finish, look what this foot just did. It comes off the ground. It's rotating, and there's nothing to rotate off of. You're in the air right now. So then it just kicks to the side, and it's basically stopped here, and then it just swivels a little bit further to right there. So those hips don't rotate until after you throw. Now they're violently rotating. Now they're rotating violently, but it's way too late. Those hips got to violently rotate into foot strike. Into foot strike. Into foot strike. Lower half rotates first, then the upper half. Upper, lower separation. The more you get, the less stress is on your arm. The more you get, the more velocity you're going to achieve.